I can't find my alien mug. So I got my mug that said coffee on it. I don't know where it is. It wasn't in the dishwasher. It wasn't in the coffee cabinet. I don't know where it is.
Could this alien mug have been abducted?
Oh, shit.
Maybe it went home.
There's a rash of alien mugs being abducted by aliens.
I think it went home, like E.T. Maybe it's live streaming somewhere.
Maybe my mug has its own podcast, and it's got 100,000 followers. Damn it. They're doing way better than us. Welcome to another episode of Mostly True Alien Stories.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain. We need to save ourselves.
All right, welcome back to Mostly True Alien Stories. This is the show, as you know, we dig into the strangest alien encounters ever recorded and try to figure out if they're mostly true or mostly just a great story. I'm Neal Girandola, and I'm here with my co-pilot in the unexplained, Andrew. Hey, Andrew.
Hi, Neal. Hey, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. Today's story, Andrew, takes us to a small town in Alabama in 1973. Whole rash of UFO stuff going on in the 70s, where a local police chief answers a call about a strange figure in someone's yard, and he ends up face to face with something that looks like a humanoid in a full metal suit. I can't wait to get into this story. The whole thing, the alien moves really mechanically. It disappears at lightning speed, and just like that, you got the Metal Man of Falkville. It becomes one of the weirdest unsolved cases in UFO lore, and you and I are going to get into it, and we're going to see if that's true or not.
Do you want to ask me where I was in 1973?
Yeah, where were you in 1973?
I was actually in Alabama.
Oh, so you might have seen it.
I don't really recall. I just remember my mom wrapping me in aluminum foil
And sending you out into the woods.
middle of a road and said, find your way home.
Good luck, son.
And I just ran.
Yeah.
I was running.
Maybe
Just
she
like
was
Forrest.
Maybe she was the anonymous caller, too. We'll get into that. All right, as always, I'm going to tell this story exactly as it was reported. No frills. We're not gonna stretch it out. Not going to embellish. Well, I might embellish a little bit, but we'll see. Then Andrew and I are going to break it all down, and we're going to try to figure out whether this was a legitimate otherworldly encounter or just someone playing dress up at the wrong time. And, of course, we want to hear from you guys, our listeners. So drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you land on this one. But before we dive into the mystery of the Falkville Metal Man, let's check in with Andrew for what's new in alien news and entertainment. Andrew, what's been circling the headlines this week?
I got to tell you, I can't stop reading about this. The secret underground city that's been discovered underneath the Pyramids of Giza. It's wild. So, people for years and years and years have just gone to look at the pyramids themselves, right? That's all they saw. They see everything above ground.
Right.
But below the surface, dude, there's like these, they did this reading, right? They used high-tech radar and they're
like
scanning.
a LiDAR or something like that?
Yeah,
or,
something like that. So
yeah.
this is what I'm questioning this whole time. Did nobody actually think to do this before? Or did this technology just appear out of nowhere, maybe from aliens?
So here's what I understand about this is that this technology is relatively new. So there is no past reference point that they can go, like, yeah, exactly what you said. How could they go? Why aren't they going to all of these locations and looking underneath? Well, because the technology has gotten better. This is why no one has really looked into it. So go ahead.
Right. But I mean, we're not just talking like some secret underground burial chamber. I mean, we're talking columns. We're talking spiral staircases underneath these things. Tunnels.
And they're also talking like it might be an energy source or two, right? Because of the way
they're
the
saying
pillars are
that,
set.
it just reminds me of, you saw Total Recall, right?
Oh, yeah.
On Mars, right? And they actually brought the atmosphere back by pressing that huge ancient device that was on Mars that everybody was keeping hidden.
Is that it's when Arnold was going,
he's like, I'm going to kill you. They're like, kill you. It's like, no. Anyway, so I digress.
I love that movie.
Oh, dude, when they get thrown out and he's like on the sand and his eyes are like bulging out of his head.
And that's how they start it, right? They open the movie with
they open the movie with the end of the movie, which is kind of cool. My favorite scene, though, is is when he's at the spaceport and he's
He's the
dressed as
lady?
the woman. Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
2 weeks, 2 weeks, oh, 2 weeks.
Well, and you know what? I know we're jumping off our story here for a second, but that is a great scene. And I remember seeing that in the movies for the first time and going, wow, that's blowing me away. That effect. the way
Yeah,
they
and
did
now
that.
you look at it and you're like, that is the most terrible
So bad.
special effects
What
I
did they
have
use,
ever
socks?
seen.
Were they using socks?
What was that? There was a can of Crisco and some red dye. I don't understand. So there's several theories. The first theory is it is a power plant hypothesis that's underneath this thing,
Sure.
right? With a subterranean water. I mean, this is insane, a subterranean water system. So I don't know what do they do now? Do they just start digging to find out?
Well, I think that they
'Cause-
can't. For one, I
Right.
think you got this guy who's the gatekeeper out there in Egypt, Hawass, I think his name is.
Yeah,
and
something like that.
Yeah, he says everything's fake. All new science is fake, and they've even tested that there's been a lot of scientists that have said that actually the pyramids are older than that they are stating that it is, and by 12,500 years. And so I think there's a lot that they have to go through in order to test it. But what's really cool is with what I'm learning or seeing is that this report itself has only been published in one science magazine. So
Right. That's what I found kind of
the,
been weird, and mostly it's just taking off on the internet right now.
right. And because the fantasy of it is really cool because
Right.
really the implications of it is that it will change us. It'll change us tremendously, our civilization will, because we're going to have to look at things completely different. Because one, let's say if it is a power source.
Right.
If it's a power source, then it becomes this, well, wait a minute. If it was a power source from back then, what does that mean? And I think it would advance our technology by hundreds and hundreds of years if that is proven to be true.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's only published in one science magazine, and I think that science magazine isn't the most reputable. So
No.
I think that it needs to be peer reviewed.
Is the title of the magazine Science Today? Sometimes.
We think. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. Science.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's the whole thing. So I can't wait to see how this unfolds.
I mean, that would be really cool if they find that it is real. But yeah, a lot of things that I'm reading is like people are like, absolutely not. But if you go on YouTube, I mean, it's blown up. People are talking about it.
Really
They're
is.
showing the pictures. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And
It's
I'm
just
like,
the fantasy of it. If
Yeah, no, I love it.
like that.
I
Yeah.
love it.
All right, what else you got?
You always talk about abductions, right? That's what we do on the show. We talk about abductions.
The alien abductions, yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to get abducted?
It's one of those things we have talked about in the past that we know from reading these stories, there are people that see UFOs and aliens 7, 8, 9 times, or, they've been abducted, they've seen a spaceship, there's all this stuff. And it's like hitting a hole in one in golf. I've said that before. Yes, I would love to be abducted by an alien. Just once I would like to see a spaceship. Anything. Yes, I would love to be abducted.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear because I have purchased you a one-way ticket
to
California.
Why? What's happening there?
The highest likelihood of an alien abduction is
Come
in
on.
California.
For real?
And they'll probably be near the Fresno area. That's where everything's been happening. So yeah,
Wow.
you have a 1 in 1,075 people chance of being abducted.
Why did they say that? Why is that? That's the number one state to
That's
chance
the
to be
number
abducted?
one state. Yeah, number one
Out of-
state from 1974 to 2025. Since they've been reporting this at the UFO Center, right? They're saying that it's the highest likelihood of being abducted is in California, in the Fresno area. That's where most of the sightings have been. So I'm just kind of assuming that's where you would get abducted, since that's where the most sightings would be. So I'm gonna email you that ticket so that you can actually go to California.
Oh my God, it'd be so badass. So wait, is this out of how many states did they rank?
They did 10 states. Yeah, you're in Jersey. No,
Are we ranked? We're not ranked?
not even ranked.
It's so stupid because I used to live in California for like 14
You know what is
years.
not ranked as well?
What?
Indiana's not ranked. I'm
So
not going.
You're not going
I'm
anywhere.
safe
Yeah, well, I
safe.
used to live in California for almost 14 years.
for a hot minute. Yeah.
And then I moved back here, and I left the state where I could possibly have been abducted.
But who knew?
Who knew? That's
You
very
know,
cool. They
maybe-
did a ranking on that, and I wonder what they're basing that off of. Like, what? Why? It must be in sightings or
Sightings. I think it's based off sightings and actual people that have claimed to be abducted.
Would you like to live in a state that has more
Yeah.
alien abductions, or would you feel more paranoid? Or you don't
I'd be
even
more
believe in this?
paranoid,
You don't
yeah.
even believe in that list.
First of all, I don't even believe it happened.
Right.
Second of all, I'm extremely paranoid.
Well, that's very cool. What's the number 10 state?
The number 10 state is Nevada.
All right, so it's all in the same area.
Yeah, but in Nevada, your odds are not good. You're 1 in 1,740 people.
All right. Well,
That means, I mean, how they're ranking this too, they're ranking it as it is 1 UFO to every 1,000 people. 1 UFO to every 1,073 people. But if you move to California, it's going to be 74. You're going to ruin their odds. You're going to have to take a couple people out.
all right. Well,
Send them to Mars.
I just had this thought that we should start a business called Alien Abductions, and it is just the alien abduction experience. And then we don't tell you when we're coming, we don't tell you when it's happening, but you sign up for it, and then we just show up as aliens, and we take you into a ship, or obviously,
Silver van.
We'd make it like an RV, an RV or something. There's no duct tape. There's none of that. But we make it look like a sterile spaceship inside, and we do exams on people, and then we probe them and then drop them back off. And they pay like $300 for this experience.
$300? Are you crazy? That's an amazing experience. You have to pay at least $16.
And we film it.
Yeah, we post it.
Yeah.
And we put that on TikTok.
Oh my God!
Here's young Ben Johnson.
No.
Hello,
Everybody
what's
gets
going on?
everybody gets a video of their experience.
Probed.
It's the best Christmas present ever.
Thanks, Mom.
All right, I'm gonna have to go to California then and see if that happens, but we'll see. What's next?
What's next? Do you like rock and roll?
Yes, I do love rock and roll. The 80s, 70s.
I wasn't a fan of this band. I'm just going to go ahead and say I was a fan of this man from the band.
Okay.
And his name is Mr. Ace Frehley, the former guitarist
Kiss.
of Kiss,
Yeah.
right? He was known as Space Ace.
Is he still alive, Frehley?
Yeah, he's still alive.
And
Yeah.
they're still performing, aren't they? Don't they?
Yeah,
go
but
around?
only Gene and Paul are performing, and they've got
Okay.
two new people. Yeah, they've had a real rough time with it. They're falling outs and stuff. But anyway, Space Ace, the former guitarist of the veteran heavy metal group Kiss.
Yeah.
Right? He was always seen as an extraterrestrial type being, right? He grew up in the Bronx. He
Yeah.
was called the Spaceman. It was
Yeah.
really cool, right? But the reason why he called himself the Spaceman is because he was obsessed with extraterrestrials.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So he said one night in his garden estate in Westchester County, New York, in 2002,
yeah.
he had an alien ship land in his backyard.
Wait, an alien ship landed in his backyard.
In
This
his
is what he said.
backyard. This is what he said.
Okay.
Ace told this to a radio interviewer by the name of Eddie Trunk,
Okay.
adding that he had videotaped the encounter, but he doesn't talk about if he showed it to anybody or not. He said the flying saucer may have abducted him and then deposited him back on Earth with no conscious recollection of what happened.
So wait, he's saying that he thinks he was abducted, but he doesn't recall it. So he's
He
just
doesn't
saying that he
recall it.
thinks he was abducted, but he also
Right.
videotaped this.
He also videotaped it, but I don't think the videotape came out. I don't think. He doesn't talk about it. Sounds
sounds
kind
like
of
our
fishy, right?
Yeah, well, it sounds like our alien abduction tour group that we're
Right.
starting.
Yeah. But here's the weirdest thing of all. There was a circular burn mark that was 27 feet in diameter left in the garden.
That's a lot of meth.
You think it was meth?
I think he burned a circle in the ground.
Okay, now that was his last alien experience, but he did have a first alien experience when he first joined on with Kiss in 1974.
Okay.
He said he was flying in a plane. It was after midnight, and he described something that looked like an enormous baseball floating outside the window of the plane. He was flying back from Los Angeles to New York.
That was in 72?
74, July 1974.
Yeah.
He said it was really strange, but he
Like a
said
sphere.
the sphere, yeah, like a sphere, a
He was
baseball.
the baseballs, but that's the sphere ships that we're now seeing.
Seeing.
Yeah.
Call them Tic Tacs? Is that the
Yeah.
same thing? Right?
No, the Tic Tac's different
Or
than
Tic
spheres.
Tacs.
Now,
Okay.
now
Oh,
there's
that's right. The spheres are the round
Yep,
ones.
now
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
Tic
yeah,
Tacs,
yeah. Gotcha. He said that the thing came up,
Mhm.
it blinked once or twice, loot, 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 and then shot off. That was it.
I wonder if like what he thought the blinking was. Maybe it was like observing, like taking pictures or something.
They were like, oh, it's Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a cool story. That's one of the cool stories that I've heard from like these rock and roll guys. You know, it's
most of them are like, oh yeah, I was on the stage and I saw a cigar in the sky. I wasn't high or anything.
Yeah, no. I would love to know if there is a video somewhere, or if he has it, or
I don't think he does. I don't think he does. I don't think it took, because I'm sure. I mean, he's Ace Frehley. I mean, not that most people over the age of 30 would know. 20, they wouldn't know who he was.
I don't know. I mean, they wouldn't know who
they wouldn't know him. They'd know Kiss. They'd know
Kiss.
Kiss. Yeah. He's always been my favorite Kiss person. I was never into Gene the Demon or the Star Child or the Cat.
But he's been openly public about these sightings, or that's why they call him Ace Frehley. But he's been the spaceman. You think it happened?
I don't know. I'm gonna believe Ace. I'm gonna say it's a mostly true rock and roll sighting.
Ace, you got a mostly true from Andrew.
It's just because I love him, dude. That's why. If I didn't like him, I'd be like,
that's right. That's the thing.
Look,
I tend to believe the people I like.
I don't like him enough to like take a bath with him.
I would love to say that I bathe with Ace Frehley. Just bathe.
Just bathe.
I think two dudes can bathe together without being a gay,
of course.
weird,
No, you're right.
sexual event.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bathed with the guy from Kiss. How cool would that story be?
Guys, I'm going to share something with you right now. I've never told anybody, but I took a bath with Glenn Campbell.
What? Glenn Campbell?
Yeah, we were singing Rhinestone Cowboy the whole time while we were bathing.
I think your bathing experience would be a lot different than mine. If I was with Ace, you're with Glenn.
Actually, it wasn't Glenn. It was John Denver.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love John Denver.
No, I didn't. That was my first concert I ever went to.
John Denver.
I was in 6th grade, and I saw John Denver.
Yeah. He's great. He was wonderful.
Oh,
really
brilliant.
Terrific. All right. Well, that's the pulse of what's happening in the UFO world right now from Andrew. Thank you. That was awesome. So let's jump into this week's featured story. Here's how it works. Listeners, I'll lay out the full account of a reported alien encounter just the way it was documented, and then Andrew and I will pull it apart and decide if this one's mostly true or mostly just local folklore on overdrive. And we want to hear from you guys, so make sure you drop your verdict in the comments, and while you're at it, follow us, share, subscribe, and help us grow this mostly true alien story universe. All right, let's get into it. We're in Falkville, Alabama in 1973. It's a small town, which was at the time was just under 1,000 people. It's a place where life kind of moves slow. Doors are left unlocked. The local police chief, he knew every resident by name. And the local police chief is the center focus of this story. His name is Jeff Greenhaw. He was just 26 years old at the time, which I can't believe he's the chief of police of a town.
There's only like 15 people that live in the town.
Right. They voted him in. He's young. He's responsible. He's straight-laced, and he was a military veteran at the age of 26. He was well respected by the community. He lived a quiet life. He was married. He had a wife, and he was known for taking his job seriously, even in a town that rarely saw more than the occasional stolen bicycle. And then that all changes in a single night. So it was just past 10 p.m. on October 17th, 1973, when Greenhaw, he receives a disturbing phone call at home. A hysterical woman claims that she had just witnessed a flying saucer, and it landed in an open field just outside the city limits. She wouldn't give her name, and they still don't know who it was to this day, but her voice was panicked and trembling. So Greenhaw, thinking this might be a prank or at worst a case of someone hallucinating, he responds anyway. He grabs his .357 Magnum. He slips his Kevlar vest on over his casual clothes. He was off duty. He's at home.
Why? Every time.
Why assume?
Why do we always have to grab our weapons? You get a
Well, he
call
is
from a woman
police
with like,
officer.
hello, yeah, there's a UFO just landed up my backyard. You better come down there and get it.
And his first thought is, I'm going to need my gun.
I'm going to get my gun. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill all those aliens.
If it's an alien, I'm killing it. All right. So he does. He grabs his gun. He has his vest on too. And remember, he's at home. He's off duty. So he gets in his police cruiser and he heads out to the reported location. And he didn't know it then, but this drive was going to destroy his career, his reputation, and his life as he knew it. Okay, so Greenhaw pulled into a narrow dirt road. It's flanked by woods and pasture. And the headlights of his cruiser were slicing through the darkness. And what he saw next would stick with him forever. First he checked around the area, didn't see anything. So he decides to go down this back road one last time to see what he could find. And as he's going down there, he's about 75 feet away. In the beam of his headlights stands this strange humanoid figure. According to his report, it was around 6 feet tall. It had an oddly slender build, and its body was completely covered in this reflective silver metallic material, like it was wrapped in tinfoil. It wore what looked like a helmet or hood with no visible facial features and just a smooth, shiny mask. Its arms and legs were stiff, and its movements were described as this robotic, mechanical, and unnatural. There is a picture of it.
Breaking.
Yeah, there's actual picture of it. So Greenhaw, he's stunned, but thinking quickly, he reaches for this Polaroid camera he kept in his cruiser. Now, they say Polaroid camera and all the reports I've been reading, I think I got lost in translation because I think it might have been a digital camera. I'm not sure, but they refer to it
just
as
a regular film camera, probably, because
yeah,
73.
I don't know if they had digital in 73.
No,
right?
they're digital.
Yeah.
The aliens did, though.
The aliens did, yeah. So he managed to take 4 photos of the figure, and the first image is blurry but unmistakable. It's a humanoid shape reflecting the headlights. So the humanoid shape, and he was metallic, so it was just the headlights of the cruiser were reflecting off of this guy. Then, without warning the figure, the alien turns and he runs. But it didn't just run; it bolted with incredible speed, almost like it had springs on its feet. It was weaving through the field at a velocity Greenhaw later claimed was too fast for a human, and he described it as inhumanly fast. So Greenhaw, he gets in his car after snapping 4 photos with the guy. And he chases.
Can you hold it? Can I get a picture of you? Hold on.
Can you turn to the side? Yeah. Right. So Greenhaw, he gives chase in his cruiser and he pushes the car to 35 miles per hour, but he still couldn't keep up with him because he was also on a dirt road that was bumpy, so he couldn't go that fast. But then he crashes his car. He kind of crashes, I guess. He lost control, and then the alien is gone. There's no trace. So Greenhaw returns to town. And he's shaken. He's unsure of what he had just witnessed. And the next day, he develops the Polaroids, which soon made their way to the press. And instead of being treated like a professional, because he makes a report about this, Greenhaw then is now being mocked by the media. And the photos were circulated and ridiculed as either a hoax or an embarrassing mistake. So he was accused of everything from staging the incident with a person in a foil suit, fabricating it to get attention, and they were saying he's just mentally unstable. So despite his solid reputation, he was chief of police. Greenhaw, a couple months later, from all this ridicule, he's fired from his position as police chief. His wife ends up leaving him just months later.
For the metal guy.
For the
She liked his moves.
Yeah.
He was faster.
Uh-huh.
He could dance. He was an amazing, incredible dancer.
And fashionable.
Exactly.
And then not only does he lose his job and his wife leaves him, but his home mysteriously burns to the ground. And it was an arson for which no one was ever charged. And then from that moment on, Greenhaw ends up disappearing from public life. He refused any interviews. He became reclusive. His name actually became this synonymous with humiliation and not heroism. So the story has divided investigators, however. Some theorists believe that Greenhaw stumbled upon a secret military test. So possibly a prototype exoskeleton or robotic drone that was being tested by nearby military facilities. Notably, the Redstone Arsenal, which was nearby, a major U.S. Army base with space missile testing ground, is less than 100 miles away from where this report happened, this incident happened. He may have interrupted a covert operation and then been silenced by embarrassment rather than admission. Another theory is that this was not a biological alien, but a mechanical scout, a robot or AI explorer from another planet. That's pretty cool.
Cool to think about.
Yeah. The reflective suit, nonverbal behavior, and extreme speed all suggest non-human origin. It's just weird. Mechanical scout. Again, why are we in the middle of the woods in Alabama if you're a mechanical scout? And, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for a wife.
Looking for a chief of police. Young. I need him young.
I saw his wife. She was pretty. I want her.
The wife and the alien have been seeing each other for like months. And he was like,
Prior.
all right, it's happening tonight. It's happening tonight. I will make sure this happens. Yeah. All right. So then another theory is that Greenhaw may have fabricated the entire story. So, or he was pranked by someone in a fire retardant suit or emergency blanket. Strangely, Greenhaw's sighting came in the middle of a UFO wave across the southern U.S. And in fact, just 6 days earlier on October 11th in 73 is the Pascagoula abduction happened in Mississippi, not far down the road. For those of you who don't know this story, it's in one of our episodes, but where two men claimed they were taken aboard a craft by robotic pincer-handed creatures. That's kind of close. And they described it as mechanical alien-like beings as well. So
yeah, except at Pascagoula, the aliens actually hovered. They floated.
Yeah,
they didn't run.
Yeah, just knowing that story real well, and seeing the picture that Greenhaw has taken,
they don't look anything
they don't
alike.
Look anything like what they described.
Although people were trying to say that, so I don't believe that.
Right. Also, multiple UFO sightings were reported throughout Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi in October of 73. So there's that. So you never know if that was, related. Greenhaw, he remains a mysterious, tragic figure. He did die in 2007, I think, or something like that. He never profited from the story. He never sought fame. And until his death, he never changed his account. The photos are out there. They circulate in the UFO communities. In fact, MUFON actually, they examined the photos. Now, so here's the thing. No, everybody that examined the photos, including MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, they all said the photos were legitimate. The photos themselves were legitimate. There was no doctoring or anything of it. But no one really acknowledged that probably is an alien. No one really, backed this kid up, unfortunately. There is no, Falkville, there's no memorial, no mention of the incident. It's sort of like this dirty secret they all keep about this poor kid. So that's our story. And now, Andrew, I'm going to hand it off to you. I'd like you to weigh in on whether you think this is a mostly true alien story or not. And listeners, add your thoughts in the comments as well. Okay, Andrew, what do you think? Is this a mostly true alien story?
Okay, so there was a couple things. I did a little deep dive on this. The reason why he had that camera with him, just so that he used that camera for mugshots and stuff. So it was a real camera, like a really high quality camera.
Makes
Unfortunately,
sense.
because the thing was so far away from him and the lighting was so terrible, all they got was like this pixelated, like looking photo, right? And he developed them. Now the correlation between the alien UFO and this Metal Man actually came from his report saying that this woman had called saying that a UFO landed in her yard. That's where the whole problem started. And that's why he was ridiculed and mocked. And that's terrible, because if not, he never said it was an alien. That's the whole thing with this story. He never said it was an alien. He just said it was this Metal Man that he saw in the middle of the field that just ran super fast.
Right. And you're getting the report of a phone call from a woman who says it's a UFO.
Right.
And then he takes a picture of the Metal Man. And then they put everything together. They just call it an alien straight up.
Right. So what I think happened is, I think this woman saw this weird looking dude running around in a metal suit, something. She called the police, figured out that it was an alien. So she just said that to get somebody to come out there. This poor guy goes out. He sees this thing. He's smart enough, which that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that he was smart enough to take a picture of it. Every other alien abduction thing never talks about having a camera, or they had a camera and guess what? The film didn't work or whatever, right? This guy was smart enough. Here's the weirdest part of it all. They burned his house down, right? His wife left him. He ended up getting remarried later in life. He had grandchildren. He had all that. But do you know that his house was broken into? And they took the real photos. They took the actual photos.
You're talking down the road?
Down the road, later on down the road. Yeah. So somebody broke into his house. He said he had guns in his house. He had jewelry in his house. And the only thing they took were the photos.
Well, they took the photos, but how are all the photos circulating?
They're photos of photos. He was smart enough to make copies, but the original copies disappeared. Now, that might not be true.
I'm surprised that the original photos didn't get burned down in the arson of his
no, because he didn't have them there. He had them with him.
The police station or with him?
He had them at the police station. That's why they didn't burn. Yeah. Here's my take on this. Is this a mostly true alien story? No.
Okay.
I don't think it's alien related at all. I think that it is some sort of government cover up. I think it was a guy in a metal suit that they were testing, maybe some sort of like exoskeleton battle suit or something. There are military bases, like you mentioned, near that area. I mean, 100 miles. If this guy's running at frickin' 60 miles an hour, that we're kind of guessing, and he just kind of disappeared. It wasn't like there was a bright light that took him back up. He just ran. I think he was freaked out because he got caught. He wasn't supposed to see anybody out there. Yeah. And then he did. And so I think the worst thing in all of this is that they ruined this guy's life.
So you're saying this is not a mostly true alien story?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. All right, and I'll weigh in. My thought is this. So here's this guy squared away, 26 years old. He's chief of police. He was an Army veteran, married, had a really nice life. And then he gets this phone call anonymous call, which they never even identified who that was.
They never knew who it was. Right.
Never knew who it was. And so he heads out there. He has his camera. The fact that he had it with him because of mugshots and stuff like that makes sense. I feel like though that camera should be at the police station. I feel like a lot of this stuff should have been at the police station. His gun, his vest, his everything. I imagine chief of police, he probably did take stuff home, but I mean they're gonna need that camera at the police station in order to take mugshots with the other guys that are working if something happens at night. So what's he on call? 24 hours, 24.
Pretty much. I mean, in a small town like that, he is.
Yeah, probably. But I would imagine they had some sort of backup. Anyway, he remains. I think being an Army veteran, he remains calm in the heat of battle. So he did have the fortitude to pull his camera out, take a picture, and those pictures do exist. They were out there. I looked at the pictures. What throws me off the scent here is. I wanted to believe this, but what throws me off when you really look at the photos or a photo that's out there, and some say they even see a UFO in the background and stuff like that. And, it's a couple of photos, you can make out anything in these photos, but it's very clear, that is something in a suit of
shaped like a humanoid.
Shaped like a humanoid.
Say that, yeah.
But the issue I have is that it really looks like there's shoes on this, this alien. The legs they're standing in a way that we would normally stand if we were in a Halloween costume that looked like this,
or a metal
suit. What I mean? It's like the legs are filled out, like, what I mean? It's not like anything that's different. So I'm kind of leaning towards, yes, I think this was an exoskeleton of a test, or I don't know why he would do it. But it could have been him, hoaxing everything. There could have been involved in that. Probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably not. But when you look at the picture, I don't believe this was otherworldly. And I don't understand. He may have been having trouble with his wife, but maybe, she was embarrassed by this and thought that, I can't live with you, through this. This is maybe the ridicule was so hard that it just
grew up here in this town.
Yeah.
I can't live here now with you.
You're making me look stupid, Jeff.
And I only went to 3rd grade. Now I look more stupid.
I was Miss Alabama. Anyway,
LT.
so yeah, right. So I think the poor guy got sucked into some bullshit and by something but it was that something was man-made here.
Yep.
And I don't think this is a mostly true alien story, and I do feel bad for this guy to go through what he just went through just because he was the chief of police and he reported it.
Well,
Maybe he handled the reporting wrong, maybe he went about it the wrong way, and that caused the ridicule.
I think he reported it like he would report any other incident. And the press freaking crushed him.
You know what would have saved him if he didn't have pictures, and there were no pictures ever existed. You know, it's just an odd. If I put myself in that situation, it's an odd action to take for him to see this thing. He's out of his car, goes back to his car, grabs his camera, comes back out, and takes a picture. Today, people are idiots with their phones. They don't even take pictures and videos, and if they do, they're shitty and they're terrible and they're whatever. You know.
Right.
I just don't know in 73 how he had the fortitude to go, I'm going to take a picture of this. That's
I
why I
think-
go,
No,
were you in on this?
I think that he said, I got to take a picture of this. No one's going to believe me if I tell him I saw a Metal Man, but if I can get a picture of it,
Mhm.
and it was
But
running.
even reporting UFOs back then, you know, everybody was hesitant. Reporting an alien
yeah.
or UFO or unknown. I mean, it's his job to have to report this, right?
Right.
But it's just one of those things where, you know, I think he was, you know, wrong guy, wrong place, wrong time.
Place, wrong time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wrong
and-
place, wrong time.
Yeah, and it wasn't from another place. Because also none of the agencies around that looked at the photos, they confirmed the legitimacy of the photos, but they all said, yeah, it's not. This is not an alien. This is not anything that
They were like, hey, Bill,
Really
come in
classified.
here. Bill,
Yeah.
come here. Look at this
see,
photo.
see his shoes. See those
No, they're like-
shoes the Metal Man's got on.
Isn't that Charlie in that suit we sent him out in? Yeah. Can you get Charlie? Charlie, come in here. Yeah. What is
Charlie,
it?
how many times did we tell you not to put on the tinfoil suit and run out in the woods in Alabama?
Well, you know what? I thought it was a good idea, and I ran like you told me to. You said if someone comes, run, and I did. And man, that suit made me fast. I was running like 70 miles per hour. This old cop tried to catch me. You should have seen him. He drove his car in a ditch.
Poor Greenhaw. Did he? Do you know if he went back into law enforcement somewhere else?
No, he just kind of, no. I mean, there's not much about him. I did listen to a radio interview, a telephone interview with him, that was done. They were just wanting to talk to him, and he was hesitant to even talk about the story, but he talked to this young kid. This was like in 2005, or 2004. And the guy recorded the thing and they did a transcript. It's on YouTube.
Did he
but it's
sound
really-
pained?
Yeah, he's like, I just did what I knew I was going to do and took photos of this thing and reported it all. And then everything went to hell after that.
Mm.
I mean, his new wife didn't think that he was crazy. He's like, I've had a good life. I've had 3 grandchildren. And, he just talked about his life. It was really sad, but he said the same thing. He's like, I drove. There was this guy standing in the middle of the road. I looked like, what is that? I got out of my car. I took the camera. I took photos of it. And then he started running. So I started driving after him. He goes, I could only get the car up to 35 because the terrain was so bad.
Yeah.
He goes, and then he darted off some off place. And he goes, and then I ran into the ditch trying to go after him. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all he ever said. He never said this was a space alien. He never said that. So for them to bash him like that, it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong, but you're also talking about the time, the place.
1973,
yeah.
rural Alabama. I mean,
that's the whole thing. And I'm sure his wife was so mortified by this that she left him.
Right.
And then, they burn his house down and, they just really just went after it. All right. Well, I say it's not a mostly true alien story. You say it's not a mostly true alien story. And that's the Falkville Metal Man. It's got all the classics, everything that you want in a story. I just wish it was true. What do you guys think, listeners? What do you think? Do you think this is a metallic being from another world or small town mischief gone epic? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We do read all your comments, so make sure you add them and make sure you subscribe to us. And that wraps it up for this episode of Mostly True Alien Stories. Be sure to follow, rate, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back next week with another story that should have you questioning the sky above and maybe even your neighbor's wardrobe. So until then, yeah, stay curious, stay weird, and keep looking up. Andrew, go get something to eat.
I gotta eat. All right, bye.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about abductors of unknown objects.